All right, thoughts on this fight, Shawn? It's a intriguing matchup.
Yeah, it's an intriguing matchup that I think both these guys have very similar styles. Um, I like it for both these guys. Every fight's a must-win. But obviously we know what's at stake for both these guys, particularly Tim with coming off of 2 losses. Call me crazy, but I think this is a 50-50 fight. I think that Joey does a lot of things well, and the funny thing about Joey is, when him turning pro at 17, I think that his growth in the sport, I don't think he necessarily grew as quick as we thought he was going to. I think that some of those fights didn't go exactly how we thought they would go, and then he ends up in the ring with Ramos and he loses that one, of course. But I think he's going to be better because of that loss, but also the fact that he's had some time to grow off of TV. A lot of what he did was on TV, and I think that was really especially hard for him. So I think we're going to get a really good version of Joey on Fight Night that we've never seen before. I think it's going to push Tim to some places that force him to think a little bit more than that he may expect to have to, and may the best man win. But I'm looking at 50-50, maybe 60-40 Tim.
Shawn, FightHight.com here. Do you think Tim needs to make a statement in this fight, or is just a win is enough? Or do you think he needs to really go out and send a message to the other 154-pounders?
Yeah, based on where Tim was at, I think it's very important for Tim to make a statement tomorrow night. I think that if he makes that statement, and you not only do you can erase those 2 losses with a win, but it doesn't completely, it's still there. I think a big explosive win for Tim, and everybody instantly gives him credit and says, oh, okay, he's back to being his old self. He didn't lose anything, things of that nature. So that's important for Tim. Tim has to make a statement tomorrow, and that statement has to be, I'm who I am. I'm here. I'm who I used to be.
He says he doesn't feel the pressure on that, but that'd almost be impossible, wouldn't it?
Listen, he said he didn't feel the pressure of his dad being around. He said that, the moment to shine in front of his dad, he was telling us that didn't matter and things of that nature. It always matters. You come back to Newcastle, he knows the record here, and he knows how his last 2 fights went. There's enough for him to think about, and even if he thinks about it and he digests it, that's the important part. But it's always going to be a level of pressure. We could talk about ignoring it, but when that bell rings, that's when it matters whether or not we're ignoring it.
Is Tim Tszyu's career at stake in this fight?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Let's be honest. Another loss, he doesn't get out of Australia anymore. So he can't afford to lose anymore, especially not in Australia. He's got to go up against the best, and he has to do that probably overseas in order to get back to where he was trying to get to.
Were you surprised at how he approached that Buckram fight, and any head noises going into this fight? Do you think?
I don't mean to laugh, but I mean it was the first round, and I saw Murtazaliev threw maybe 5 jabs in the first round, and he turned while he was throwing those jabs, and I hadn't seen that from him before. So I mean, I was like, oh shit. And then Tim stayed there, and like 20 seconds later, I said, this is not going to be good. And I knew less than a minute into that first round how the fight was going to go. So I think that if Tim had an opportunity to, he'd do it all over again. I was surprised at how he came out. I don't know what I think he thought that he was going to just outbang Murtazaliev. Didn't realize how strong he was, but obviously not what he should have done. And like I said, I think if he had a chance to do it all over again, he would, and we would not see that same fight. I don't know if the fight would have gone the way, ultimately who would have won that fight, but certainly we wouldn't have seen him be flat-footed right in front of Murtazaliev.
What sort of a damage could that do for Tim? I mean, on his punch resistance, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I said this earlier. What'd that fight go? 4 rounds?
3.
3 rounds. It's best that didn't happen for 12 rounds consecutively, So to me, the damage was limited, was minimal. It was better that happened in 3 rounds, and I'm inclined to believe that Tim will be healthy. It didn't look like it was punishment that would leave debris. Looked like it was just a bad night. So I hate to laugh about it, but yeah, it just looked like it was a bad night. Didn't look like it was something that was gonna have an everlasting effect on him.
Shawn, if
Different though from a mental standpoint. I'm talking physically. Didn't look like physically it was something that'll stay with him, but mentally it's a whole nother thing, and emotionally.
if Tim is successful, who would you like to see him fight? Would you like to see a rematch for Enduro or Virgil Ortiz would be a exciting matchup? I mean, who would you?
I don't know. Again, it's one thing to get on stage and talk about it, and physically we can always look the part, but we have to see him on fight night. That rematch I think is something that he probably needs to have happen at some point. But I'm not beyond this fight. I really don't know what's next. I think we expect it to be Keith Thurman. So I think that when I was here last, and that was the announcement that was made, so I think that's the fight we should expect. And that one looks good. I think especially we got to see how he looks on fight night, man. If he rips Joey, that fight's a massive fight if he rips him.
If it's a split decision, what happens then? Is it?
If it's a split, wow. If it's a split and we saw a version of Joey that we've never seen before, we see Tim, really competing and it's tit for tat. That's how some of those fights are. You know what I mean? Keith won a split decision over me. It didn't look like he won. Didn't look like I won. That's how some of those fights go. So if it's that kind of fight, but it's exciting, he moves on. But if it's a split and he's dragging, he's flat-footed, he's missing those marks and things of that nature, we got some things to think about.
This fight's only 10 rounds. Does that impact Tim's approach? I mean, he thought it was 12. He only found out it was 10 last week. Does that sort of impact anything at all?
I don't think so. I think a 12-round fight and a 10-round fight is practically the same. I think that the approach is the same. I don't see anything being different. For me, that's how I always looked at it. It was like it was just 2 more rounds of me having to work.
What about he's saying he's wanted to start more cautious, but you won't want to give those rounds away now?
Yeah. I mean, we're not talking 4 rounds. I think 4 rounds is really when that matters. Once you're moving into the 6, 8, 10, 12, I think that patience is a necessity. And I think for Tim, probably what he's saying is when he says start cautiously, he's probably saying he wants to box more. He wants to think more. He wants to use his feet more and see what's in front of him opposed to just go out there and throw and see what happens, So hopefully that's game plan.
I think the version of Tim versus Mendoza was the version I hope that I see with the jabs, the feinting, taking his time, and then breaking him down.
Yeah, and those were the things he was saying before Mendoza. So maybe that's more of the Tim we should be expecting to see on fight night.
Nice one. Thanks, bro.